Hello, my name is Sue Ellen Christopoulos Nutting, and I am the Media and Digital Resources Librarian here at NYCC. Today you will hear me talk about the basics of copyright and fair use. One of the coolest things about copyright law is that it applies to numerous literary and artistic works all over the world. In 1988, the U.S. became part of the Berne Convention. This meant that we were now part of an international agreement pronouncing that the U.S. would recognize other intellectual property and copyright rights of others, and therefore our copyright holders would have international protection as well. Essentially, what this means is if you create material and then that material ends up in Russia, you will still be the copyright holder and continue to have all your rights. At this time, there are currently 164 countries that partake in this international agreement. So I want you to please remember that this is just the basics of copyright law. I'm not a lawyer and I cannot give legal advice, but I do have a long history with copyright law. I used to work as a copyright manager for an educational publisher, so I have a lot of experience with this law, and therefore I feel very comfortable talking about it and answering any questions that you might have. So in a nutshell, copyright protects the author and/or creator of the work so others can't claim it as their own. Copyright adheres to any tangible thing. You don't have to register for copyright, although if you want legal protection, then you need to register. The main point is that as soon as you put something in a tangible form, copyright and the law automatically adheres to it. If you have questions on registration, please go ahead and contact me. So under the term copyright law, the creator is granted exclusive rights. Once again, these rights are automatic, but as the creator or author, you can share and give some of these rights away. But you might be asking yourself, what exactly are these rights that the creator may or may not keep? Some of the exclusive rights include the right to reproduce, prepare derivative works, distribute, and to perform any copyrighted work. To reproduce means to create a number of copies, like books, DVDs, articles in a journal, etc. To prepare derivative works means to make a workbook to go with a book, to create a music video to go with the music and the lyrics, or perhaps to create an encyclopedia to explain words that might actually appear in the book. A great example of this is one of the most recent cases that was brought in front of the Supreme Court concerning Harry Potter. In short, a librarian created a website and wrote a book describing the language and the overall world of Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. However, her publishers sued the librarian, saying that it was an infringement of copyright law, and the courts found in favor of the publisher and J.K. If you want more information on this, you can go ahead and Google it, or you can just come and see me. Now, the exclusive right that includes to distribute copies of the work, this is most likely one of the rights that the original copyright holder had to give up to the publisher, especially if they want to get their creative work out into the public. If you have any questions on any of these exclusive rights that originally started with the copyright holder, please don't hesitate to ask me. So I need you to remember that this is copyright law. We're not talking about trademark or patent law. And copyright law applies to books, movies, videos, music, and the internet. Remember, one of the key aspects about copyright law is that it only has to be in a tangible form, and everything on the internet is in a tangible form. But copyright does not cover things like your brain. Your brain and the ideas that live in your brain are not able to be protected under copyright law. However, once you put that idea that lives in your brain into a tangible form, like an article or PowerPoint, then it is covered by copyright law. Titles, names, short phrases, slogans, these are also not under copyright law. Many fall under trademark law. Can you see that little speck to the left of the bunny? That's the trademark symbol. This tells us that the slogan of "He keeps going and going" is covered under trademark law. Simple lists of facts are not covered under copyright. In library school, they told us about a lawsuit that happened between phone companies and the phone book. Do you remember the phone book? Well, one company was trying to sue the other, saying that they violated their copyright on the phone book, and after much discussion on the parts of the courts, it was decided that the actual list of the numbers was not covered under copyright law, but the book itself, the way it was assembled, the way that it looked, that put a unique twist to it. So the information in the front of the book, some of the maps, local attractions, those are not covered under copyright law, but again, the way that it was actually assembled, that was covered under copyright law. So again, even though the stuff inside the book wasn't covered, the actual book itself did fall under copyright law. This is just another demonstration of how copyright and its laws and fair use and infringement, it's all on a very case-to-case basis. Now within copyright law is section 107, and 107 deals with fair use. Fair use allows others to use parts of the copyrighted works for certain things. Now, a very important thing to know about fair use is that it is not a right. The reason that fair use exists in the copyright law is so that it can be used as a defensible argument if one is sued by a copyright holder in the court of law. That's the only way. It is never to be used as an excuse. Essentially, fair use allows others to use the copyrighted material without asking for permission from the copyright holder, but it must be a reasonable amount and it must be in a reasonable manner. Remember that if the author created and published something, they may not be the current copyright holder of certain rights. In order for them to get that material published and out to the public, they may have had to give up some of their exclusive rights and quite possibly all of their rights to their publisher. So let's say you have a colleague who wrote this great article and they had it published in a scholarly journal, and it's the best article or paper that you've ever seen, and you want to make hundreds of copies of it and pass it out to everyone that you come in contact with. You cannot go down the hall or ask them if it's okay if you can use that material. You need to contact the publisher because they now hold the exclusive rights that once your colleague had but was forced to give up in their publishing agreement with the publisher. And the same might go for you. If you write something and you got it published and then someone called you and they wanted to make hundreds of copies of it, and they wanted, let's say, to create a workbook or a sheet to go with the material, you need to tell them to contact the publisher. FYI, if you are publishing with a publisher, be sure to read over your agreement. In there, it will state all of the exclusive rights that you are signing over to your publisher. If you have any questions on this, please go ahead and contact me. So the 4 factors that you need to think of when you're using copyrighted material: the purpose, the nature, the amount, and the effect. The purpose first. You have to ask yourself, is it for classroom use and does it directly relate to the curriculum? Then yes, it's okay to use. If the purpose is to create a workbook out of the material, then it would not be fair use. Just like in the example that I was telling you about J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter case. You also have to think about the nature. Is it supposed to be used in an educational setting? If the answer is yes, if that was its purpose and you are only using it in an educational setting to give more depth to the curriculum that you're teaching, then it's fine for you to use. The amount. How much of the material are you using? Is it just a paragraph? Then yeah, it would definitely fall under fair use. But are you making copies of an entire book and giving it to your students? Then no, that is definitely not covered under fair use. In the effect, If you copied an entire book, let's say 50 times, and gave it to all of your students for class, then it would not be covered under fair use because this would have a direct effect on the market. But don't fear, you can use copyrighted material and you are allowed to use it for news, criticism, and research, but you have to always remember to think of the 4 factors. Now we have the TEACH Act. The TEACH Act is the Technology, Education, and Copyright Harmonization Act. So how long do you think it took the government to come up with that acronym? Essentially, the TEACH Act allows for distance education class. It took all of the rights that teachers have in the physical classroom and moved them to the online world. Before this act, it was copyright infringement to have copyrighted material in a distance education class. That sounds so crazy to us now, but it's actually true. But as we all know, the government and the law love their conditions. This law allows not just anyone to create a course on the internet and have people pay for it. As you can see, one of the conditions is that it needs to be an accredited institution and only those students in the classrooms can see the material. Hence the necessity to enroll. You all had to enroll in this class before it started, and it's not just because they wanted to be pains, it's because the law insists upon it for online learning classes. So here at NYCC, we have D2L. D2L is our content management system, and it allows for us to have distance education classes. If you need to learn more or if you have any questions, please contact me. Remember, this was a very short and brief introduction to copyright and copyright law and the TEACH Act. So if you have any questions or if you have some situations that you want to talk about, do not hesitate and contact me. There's a video after this, and it's really funny and you can learn a lot. But I want to thank you for taking this class, and again, this is Sue Ellen Christopoulos Nutting, and I'm the Media and Digital Resources Librarian, and you can find me upstairs in the library. Thank you. Have a good day.